It's time to take you inside the huddle.
Here we go.
Straight from the source. This is the Players Club with JJ and Alex, featuring Cougar offensive lineman Connor Pay on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. All right, man, I can't believe how far into the season we are now. We are in officially in week 12 of the Big 12, and it just keeps getting more wild. Every week gives us something new in this conference, and we're not shocked by anything anymore. But joining us on the program right now, he's Connor Pay, BYU offensive lineman and captain of that offense, and he got his first start since that Baylor game, which now feels like it was 100 years ago, even though it was only 7 weeks ago. But here we are. Connor, how was that game being back, and how do you feel, man?
I mean, physically, I feel good, and so the foot held up good during the game, and honestly, the next day wasn't as bad as I anticipated it being, so yeah, I'm happy about that. Obviously not very happy with the outcome of the game, but you just got to move on. You got to learn from your mistakes and attack the next week.
Let's dig into that. What do you think was the issue against Kansas, especially offensively?
Well, it was pretty obvious that execution in the red zone was the issue. Because we did just about everything we wanted on offense until we got down there into the red zone. And when you have 4 trips to the red zone during a game and you only come out with 3 points, you're not gonna win very often doing that, because the defense played a great game against an offense that had been firing on all cylinders the last few weeks. And honestly, for the most part, like we played good complementary football. We controlled the clock. We kept their offense off the field. And when you can't punch it into the end zone, you're not going to win like that. And so it's pretty obvious that our red zone execution was the biggest issue.
This team has not had to experience a loss yet this year, and so give us a vibe on how everybody reacted, not just right after the game, because obviously people aren't going to be partying in the locker room, but what's the resolve been like since Saturday to now, when you guys fire up your practices and get everything going?
Well, I think one of the things that I feel like we've done really well as a team this year is responded in adverse situations, and usually those just took the form of circumstances within the game itself, and now it's taking the form of, okay, this is a wake-up call. We obviously, have things we need to fix, and we have to attack the week. Obviously, pretty bitter feeling in the locker room knowing that we kind of just gave that game away and had many chances to take control of or take the lead in that game. And, so obviously not a great feeling after doing something like that. But also, I think, like I've talked about with the winning, one of the things that this team is great at has been compartmentalizing the weeks. And that is true whether you win or whether you lose, right? You have what we do this week and how we execute this week has nothing to do with the previous 10 weeks, right? It's how well can we prepare and how can we out-prepare ASU? How can we take the lessons that we learned in the Kansas game and actually go and apply them on the field during practice? Because, if we're being honest with ourselves, it was a pretty subpar week of practice for us. Not a great week. And so there are specific things that we were able to, address as leaders today that we want to avoid in practice this week and learn from those mistakes so that we can bounce back against Arizona State this week, who's playing good football right now. They're a good team.
What do you attribute to that? The lackluster practice? Is it, and how do you address it?
Well, I think there's a number of things. I mean, it's always difficult coming off an emotional rivalry win like that to kind of those are the hardest circumstances to reset and attack the new week and not let things and the media or the outside world are in your own mind. You're like, hey, we're 9-0, and it's um, I think I think that definitely plays a role in it. Just a little bit of an emotional letdown. Not as much juice in this game, um, and we were prepared for that to happen, and we tried to do everything we could to address it during practice. But what was our bigger issue is we just had a lot of mental mistakes in practice last week, which should not have happened. Um, and so that's how you overcome those challenging emotional circumstances is with focus and execution. And we lacked that a little bit in practice last week. So just putting an emphasis on that this week of just doing your 111th and executing every play in practice that we can to perfection. And that's what we were able to do today, as we reviewed the game film from last week and as we had our walkthrough to start the week. It was crisp, it was clean. And because we had been practicing really, really well, the first half of the season. Um, and I think we got to get back to what made those practices great, which was elite execution. And that's on us as leaders to demand that and to do that ourselves to kind of bring that back for us as an offense. And I think that message was well received by the team, and I think we had a good start to the week.
Obviously, losing is not anything that anybody wants, especially when you had that, you were undefeated. But is there also a part two, because there's a massive amount of pressure, obviously, to now hold serve and to keep going, because a win against Arizona State and then a win against Houston, you guys get to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
Is there a kind of thing where you go, well, but it's nice not to have that undefeated pressure that's on there too, because that's something that's separate from all of this, because you can still go to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of that. I think it more so comes with just the understanding that, look, we're not independent anymore. Like in the past, it's been you drop one game, your season is over. Like we don't have any chance of going to a New Year's Six Bowl or something like that if we lose at all. And conference play is very different, you know. And whereas we just have to reset, regroup, and get back to how we know we can play and take care of the business these next 2 weeks, and then we are in the exact same spot we would have been if we were undefeated. And still competing for a conference championship, which was what we want. And so I think that's been kind of the vibe and the motivation around the building is like, look, yeah, we dropped one. That sucked. And hey, let's look at why that happened. Okay, here are the things that we think why that occurred. Now let's address them. Here's our plan for this week to make sure that those things don't repeat themselves. And off we go. Let's attack the week. And that's been the mindset today. And I think that's kind of, that's at least how we're thinking about it right now.
What are your thoughts on Arizona State? They're a lot similar to you guys in the sense that they weren't picked to win anything this year. They were picked to finish last in the Big 12, but here they are, top 25, 8-2 on the season with a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game. As you're watching film and studying them, what is it that stands out about them that's allowed them to prove so many people wrong and have a special season?
Well, I think that similar to us, they play hard and they execute well. And it's obvious that they had a really good and disciplined offseason, just like we did, probably, because nobody likes being told that you're going to be terrible, and that can light a fire under a team. And they've done a really good job all season, just in studying their defense. They play assignment sound, aggressive football on defense, and it's that's one of the marks of great defenses. When you can play physical and aggressive without blowing your assignments, that's a good defense, and that's what they're able to do. And we're excited for the challenge.
As Arizona State was picked to finish 16th in the conference, and you guys were picked to finish 13th in the preseason polls. Obviously, they have the same type of drive as well, like insane attitudes that inside the locker room, I'm sure, that have gotten them to this point, and despite the fact of what everybody thinks of them. And so how much of that goes into this? I mean, these are two teams who are in a place who nobody thought that they'd be there except for them. And so that matchup and kind of where do you put Arizona State compared to the other teams that you've played this year so far?
I mean, it's every game is so different. It's hard to compare the teams like that. Simply because every team has their scheme. We have our plan of attack against them. And so it's really difficult before I've played them to kind of compare team by team. But I think it's going to come down to who can execute better at the end of the day, because it's both teams with obviously a lot to play for. Who've been playing at a high level most of the season. It's going to come down to who can execute better on Saturday night.
Specifically with execution, how important is it going to be for you guys to run the ball effectively? You guys were rocking and rolling with the run game for a bit, took a little bit of a step back against Kansas. How do you get back to some of those numbers that you had in previous weeks?
Well, we didn't take a step back against Kansas. We averaged 5.2 yards a carry against Kansas, and that's pretty dominant run game football when you're averaging over 5 yards a carry. And I think we have to continue that because that opens up a lot of the rest of the offense when you're able to run the ball like that. It opens up the play action pass game, and it makes things easier overall in the pass game when the defense feels like they always have to have someone either at the box or at the hip of the box, and it's that'll be vital, like it always is.
Connor Pay, our weekly guest right here on JJ and Alex, getting you ready for BYU versus Arizona State. 10 games in. Yeah, 10 games in. I have to make sure we know, because it's like week 12, but you guys have played 10 games. The double bye throws me off sometimes. How has this season been in terms of inside the locker room? How have things evolved with you guys as a team, and how much stronger is this group right now versus when you guys got into camp?
Much stronger, both in the literal and the emotional and physical sense too. I think every week, whether you win or lose, you learn something about yourselves, and we've tried to take that every week and identify the lessons learned. Obviously, this last week we learned a lot of them. As you do in most losses, those L's are learning opportunities, and I think the way we've grown together in that sense is you know now and how your teammates are going to react in most circumstances, and our chemistry it continues to grow, whether that's guys in your position group, on the offense, on the defense, special teams, complementary football, all those things. You want to keep growing with that every week, so you're peaking and playing your best football at the right time, which is the goal. You want to build it up all the way through November, so you can play your best ball in December, January.
Just with so much at stake, and how do you, as a leader, you talked about the meeting you got, the conversations you guys had this week about the practices. How much have you enjoyed being a leader on this team? I'm curious that experience and seeing the leadership pay off, even when you're not playing, Connor, because it's been so important to see that leadership kind of play out with this team this year and help you guys get to this point where where you compare it to last year. How much have you enjoyed that aspect and seeing it produce such positive results?
Oh, I've loved it. I've loved it because it's years of work that is built to this, and a lot of crappy experiences together, that have led to this point, and to be able to do this, and to see how many guys, how our leadership has expanded to where now everyone on the team feels like they have a voice and they can be someone who holds the standard of our culture, and to see how many other leaders are developing on our team, that's one of the most rewarding parts, is alongside just the success you have as a team, but just watching individuals grow and change, and become leaders in their own right. When you have a team full of guys who are willing to hold that banner of your team's culture, and to buy in, and to lead both physically and vocally, that's what you want, and that's when special things can happen.
We always talk about how the offensive linemen don't get enough credit sometimes, and but for you, like, who's somebody on this team? And I know there's probably a lot of examples of it, but who comes to mind when you think of guys who don't get enough credit for how great of a season they're having, or for how much they're contributing to this team that sometimes doesn't look like it comes out there on paper?
I think there's two guys just off the top of my head. I think the guy right to my left, Waylon Lapuaho, is having a great season. I think he's played really well. And it's been fun for me to watch him come in, after just his freshman season at Utah State, and to see how he's developed here and how much he's changed in the last 2 years. Like, as an older player, that's been so fun to watch. And he's just playing such good football right now. I'm just super happy for him. And then the second guy, he doesn't show up on paper because he's not on the field, and that's Gary Bohannon. I think coming in as a transfer in your final season and losing a quarterback battle can be pretty devastating, both emotionally and mentally, for someone who's not as tough as he is. But he has been as vocal of a leader as anybody else, and just the way he's been locked in all season long. Like, he catches little things during the game. Like, a couple weeks ago, we sent two guys with the same number out on special teams, and he caught it. He went up to our special teams coordinator and said, "Hey, you got the two of the same number out there?" They made the substitution, and we were good. Just little things like that, and just his little mentoring roles to different guys on the team. And he was the one who addressed the team today after we came out of our leadership meeting. We always have a guy or two get up and address the team, and Gary was the guy today. Having been a quarterback who's led a team to a conference championship, and then what it takes to bounce back from a loss in that situation, and what you need to focus on. He was the one that addressed the team today. And so his value is immense, even though he's not on the field. He has been monumental to the success of our team.
Connor Pay, he's, of course, joining us every week here on the Players Club on JJ and Alex, and has walked us through some of the things that are going on inside the locker room and inside of the huddle, and how these things work, and it's just been phenomenal to be able to catch up again this week. So another one of the books, Connor, and we appreciate you joining us, man, and safe travels down to Tempe, and then we'll be watching, of course, very, very closely coming this Saturday.
Yep, thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure.
All right, thanks, Connor.
Connor Pay. We'll take a break. We've got more to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.